Hello and welcome back. As always, I am so excited that you have came back to talk to me. I really could sit here and talk to you all day, but I cannot today because I have invited Millie back, and she is here waiting to tell you a story. Motivation is such an interesting thing. It is not something that you can just hold on to, but you can catch the motivation anytime you want. We did talk about that in the last lesson. But you can't just take a pill and expect it to get better. That is what is very, very scary about the motivation. Because once you catch it, it is very, very hard to get rid of it. So, we do have two tools to help us keep from getting demotivated. The very first one is the one that we have already discussed in pretty good detail, and that is motivation. Now, motivation is a very, very, very good tool to keep us from falling into the trap of being demotivated. But there is another thing that we can also use, that we have to use to be able to keep going. So, let me tell you a situation to help me explain how these two tools work together. So, when you go and you get into the car, you have a thing that is called a key. You take that key and you put that key into the ignition, or a slot that is in your vehicle that you put the key into to go ahead and start it. Now, when you go to start your vehicle, you have to have something else in your car. Do you know what I'm talking about? You may have to stop often to get it from a gas station. Yes, that's good. That's a really, really good guess. It is gas. Gas in motivation is called determination. Now, determination is a power to keep going. It is the motivation to keep going. Motivation will get you started, but determination will keep you going and keep you heading to your goal. To your goal. So, you can have all the motivation in the world, but if you do not have determination, you will not be able to go anywhere. You will have to have gas. So, we have so many motivational speakers, and they may be awesome, but they are not as good as Lion, because he will always talk about motivation and determination. Whenever he talks motivation, because he knows that it goes hand in hand. So, what I am trying to say is that when you think of motivation, you have to also think about the drive that keeps you going. If you have the motivation to do something, so you jump in head first, and you hit it at a full sprint, like you're running a track race, what will happen? Yes, chances are that you won't be able to keep going, because you may be able to sprint for a really short distance, but you will not be able to sprint the whole race if it is a long race. And let me tell you, life is a very, 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 very long race. So, you have to have the power of determination. You have to have something so hard that it keeps you moving on and continuing to get better. Now, another word for determination is perseverance. Perseverance is when you are pushing through the hard times. Perseverance is that determination that when you are in a hard time, it does keep you going to make it all the way through so that you can complete your goal. So anyway, like I have said before, I do not want to keep really waiting. So here she is and what she knows about this. Okay, so I'm pretty sure she's got the lesson. Not the lesson, I'm sorry. She has a story, and she is ready to tell you. So, Millie, if you don't mind, come on over and tell your story. Okay, so, thank you, DH. Hello, little human. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure you're so busy, so I just want to, thank you for all your time and, the time that you set aside for me, because I don't want to waste any of your time. I'm going to go ahead and, tell you my story. So, like DH says, to start every good story is, you say, once upon a time. So once upon a time, there was three best friends, and when they woke up that morning, it was normal, like every single day. They did not realize that the day was going to be the day that was going to be the craziest day of their life. So anyway, they got up and they went to work. They went to work, and
And, they weren't happy to go to work, I mean, not really anybody. Most people, in society is not happy to have to go to work. And, that's okay. That's not okay, But, certain things we have to do that we don't like it, and that's where like motivation comes in and determination, like we've been talking about. So, I mean, I guess that's, that's something that we have to do. But, so anyway, so I'm going to continue on my story here. So, like I said, so they all, went down and they got in the car because, they're roommates and they're going to the same place. So they figured that they might as well ride share with each other so that they don't have to own their own individual cars and have to pay for gas and all of that thing. So they were really smart on that point. But what they weren't smart on is not having the tools, determination, and motivation. So let me tell you a story. About them. So they got in the car and they shut the doors and they had a little bit of small talk going as they were on the way to work, and in the road they drive on, it went right through a forest. Now this forest was so thick that you couldn't see anything in it. But these friends, they drove us down the same road for about years. They've driven down the same road for I think altogether like 5 years, but off and on, some worked there, some didn't, so on and so forth. So they drove down this road for about 15 minutes, and they drove into the most luxurious part of this forest. Now, for the 5 years that they have been, driving down this route consistently all the time, they have never seen any kind of houses or any kind of businesses, and didn't think that there was anything in there. Well, today, they thought differently. They drove into the forest, and about five or so miles in, they saw a bright flash, like a strobe light, just one time. So, he said, "What the heck is that?" said Jim, which was the guy driving. He said, "I don't know, Gary," which was the guy that was sitting in the passenger seat. And then, he goes, "Hey, guys," said Billy. The guy was sitting in the back seat. He said, "I know we don't have time right now, but we should come back after work." So they all agreed. They said, "Okay, yeah, after work we'll come back." So they went to work, and the whole day, just went as normal as everything else did. Except they were a little more excited, maybe a little bit of wink motivated to want to go and go and visit and explore what they had seen, or what they thought they had seen. They had all seen it, so I imagine they had all seen it. So anyway, they got through work, and they all went and they jumped in the car, and they drove back to the part of the forest, the most luxurious part of the forest, where they had seen the bright light. So Jim stopped the car and they all jumped out. But when they got to the forest, they stopped. They looked and they looked. They were a little scared. They were a little scared. The motivation, got them started, but now all of their determinations were, kind of holding them back and wasn't letting them walk into the forest. So they finally, Jim was finally like, "Hey, let's just go in, And so they all followed his step, and they walked into the forest. So they all walked in, and they were looking and looking and looking, and they found this well. And Jim was like, "Well, why is there a well here? There's no houses. Why would there be a well?" So they all, they got a little curious. It was like a little cute little wishing well with a little roof and a little string for a bucket, but no bucket on it, so no bucket, but the string was there. The string was, hanging down inside the water, so they went over and they leaned over the thing, they leaned over the edge there, and they looked down in there. And a few seconds later, a bright orange light came shooting out of the well. Now, these humans did not know what it was, but any kind of, any insider would obviously know what this was. This was a inspiration insider. One of the most amazing insiders that there are. There are 4 great insiders, and I hope one day that I will be one of the greats, and I will be able to take that role. But anyways, so this was an insider. The humans had found an insider well. It is an entrance and an exit point from our world to the human world. So the insider that was coming out was an inspiration. Like I told you, I'm sorry, I'm kind of backtracking a little bit here, but anyways, So she came right out so fast. She was supposed to look first, but she was so distracted that she didn't. So she came flying out of the well, and she bumped into all three of them, knocked them right on their kabooties. So she looked at them. She looked all around, and they were very, very scared. She didn't mean to make them scared, but because her job was to motivate and to create, make people want to create these beautiful things. But this was not what was happening today. All three humans, they sat on their backs and they used their hands and they were pushing themselves slowly backwards. And she said, "Hold on." She said, I'm not supposed to be seen by you guys, let alone talk to you guys. But I think that I should make this whole situation right by offering you something. Now these are guaranteed to certain people. Certain people are, get these things when the right time comes, and that's what our entire job is to come and, make sure that we are able to give it to them. But I guess because it's accident, I can spare one or two or a couple. So so she gave them the option between two. She said this one is motivation and this one is determination. So she said go ahead and take what you want. So Jim reached out and he touched one of the floating clouds. That was the one I was closest to him, because he didn't know what this really meant. She didn't explain it very well because she didn't think that she'd ever have to explain it to anybody. So anyway, so Jim reached out and he grabbed one, and the insider goes, "Oh, great choice! You chose motivation. That's a good one." And then Gary reached out and he touched the cloud. He touched the other cloud just because he wanted to be different a little bit. And she said, and the good insider said again, "Good choice. Determination. Amazing. Good job. Awesome job. You guys are both great." And now it was Billy's turn. Billy looked at the spirit and he reached out both hands at the same time and he touched both clouds. And she kind of scratched her head and she said, "Okay, I guess that's allowed, okay." And he got motivation and determination. So she packed up her things, she packed up the rest of the ones that they did not take, and she put them in the bag and she carried about her business. Now, the humans were so scared that they did not know what to do. So now, Jim and Billy both had the motivation to get up and get going. So they both got up and they picked up Gary. "Come on, Gary, we must get going," they said. And they carried him for what seemed like for miles, even though it seemed like it didn't take them very long to get to the well. But it did. But now it did seem like for miles that they were walking. Thank goodness that they had enough motivation to get started. But anyways, so you go through the trip. They got very, very, very tired. And Jim and Billy put Gary down and said, "I don't think this is the way we came. I think that, maybe we made a wrong turn. I just think that we need to sit down and we need to talk about it for a little bit." "No," he said, Gary. He was full with dedication. And he said, "We need to get moving along. We have to keep going. We have to keep going." So Billy also had a dose of dedication. Remember, he got a bowl. So Gary and Billy, they picked up Jim, which had no dedication, because he chose motivation, which he thought was the best choice, and it was close to him anyways. So they picked him up and they carried him the rest of the way back to the car. So they got to the car, and they all got in the car. Now, when Gary got in the car, he said, "I think we should just, stay here for a minute, and we should just, stay here, Billy and Jim, they were full with motivation, said, "No, we gotta get going. We have to get going. We gotta get started. We gotta get started. If we don't get started, then we'll be so far from home and we'll never get home." So Jim turned on the car and started going. So now it had been so late and they'd been in the forest for so long that before they got home, it got super late. And one street away, Jim stopped the car and it's pulled over. Well, I guess he pulled over before he stopped the car. Or at least I hope, because that would not be good. Now, what if he stopped the car in the middle of the road? He said, "I think that we should just, finish the trip, tomorrow. We made it this far, and, it's not like we're far away, so we can, just finish the trip, and when we get home, we can just go ahead and go in and finish the trip." But, so, Billy and Gary, they were filled with that determination thing, and they said, "No, we're just going to go ahead and go home." So they both got out, and they went ahead and walked. So they got out, and they walked home, and And Jim got up the next morning and he finally started his trip the next morning after he had built up a little bit of motivation. So the motivation to get started and to get home. See, now this story shows us a perfect example of the difference between motivation, which is the power to get going, and determination, which is the power to keep going. And then we also have, synonyms for the different words like perseverance, things like that. But, that's all in later in lessons, which I'm sure Dr. here will be sure to teach you. And I hope that he calls me back and, invites me to speak to you too. But because I really like this, is really fun. And you humans are just seem so amazing to me. And I hope that you never, start talking to DH, because DH really needs, a human just like you that's going to constantly talk to him. Don't tell him I said that, but I think that the whole town is kind of feeling it. But so I'm so glad that he did make connection with you. Anyway, so I hope you like this story. And learn the difference between determination and motivation, and always show how always show that they have to work hand in hand to be able to work efficiently. Or it's pointless to really have either of them if you don't have one without the other, and the other without the other one, and the one without the other. Never mind, you get the point. You won't be successful if you don't have both working hand in hand. So that is what my story was supposed to show you. And, it was about an insider, so that's why I was really excited to tell you guys. But anyway, here you go, DH. I'm going to go ahead and hand your communication device back over to you. Thank you, little human, for your time. And DH, thank you for letting me talk to him.
Oh, thank you, Millie. Thank you so very much. I appreciate everything that you do, not only for me, but thank you for telling that wonderful story to my very young human. I appreciate it so much. I think that it's going to help them along, to help them understand the differences between determination and motivation. I was trying to explain it to them, but just didn't have the right words, it feels, to go ahead and explain it to them. So I'm glad that you were willing to come by and that you were willing to tell them your most amazing story. So, if you'd go sit down and look, Millie, and have you some H2O so good and some positivity, I will be there in just a minute. As for you, little human, thank you for being so nice to Millie. Millie really does enjoy, like I said, Millie and all the people of here that I am sure that I'm going to invite. I can't say very soon because there are lots of people that want to come in, but I will invite them here. Right now, we will have Millie on a pretty constant basis because I love Millie. She is one of my favorite people in here. And she has so much wisdom to give to us. Because she has seen so many different things being inside of people's heads. But she is not the only one. She gets to feel the stories. She gets to listen to stories of other insiders as well. Which is, I think, is just the most amazing thing that we can learn from. So, like she said, I hope that you liked her story because I surely did. And remember, little human, if you learn nothing else from this communication between me and you, one, remember that you will always be my best friend, and I hope that this never ends. But for number two, I hope that you always are always just going to remember to uplift, empower, inspire, and enlighten. Little human, you have a great night. I appreciate you always coming back and always being the most active listener in the whole wide world. Good night, my little human. You have a very, very great night.